Good morning, Dr. Montgomery. Thank you so much for talking to VOA.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you.
What is a policy priority in EUR Bureau in coming years?
Absolutely. Well, I think the President has made it very clear, beginning with his inaugural address, that our priority really is to rebuild our relationships with our allies and partners in Europe. We believe that they are the cornerstone of everything that we are trying to do, whether that is fighting COVID-19 or climate change or pushing back against malign activities from Russia and China. We want to be working with our European partners. But we also, I will say, we also continue to believe that our goal for Europe is really a Europe whole, free, prosperous, and at peace. So we'll be working toward that goal for the next 4 years.
You mentioned China. As we know, China is competing with the United States in vaccine distribution and post-pandemic recovery. What is your takeaway of the recent 17+1 bloc virtual summit between China and some Central and Eastern European nations?
Absolutely. Well, I think all countries, whether it's the United States or Europe, have a multifaceted and very complex relationship with China. There are parts of that relationship that are adversarial, some of it is competitive, and there are also areas where we want to cooperate with China. And so I think our focus really is working on a multilateral basis with our allies and partners to strengthen our cooperation and to look at areas where we can cooperate with China, such as on climate change, but also to be aware that there are activities, economic activities that we want to push back on. There are threats to our values, and there are human rights violations, such as we've seen in Xinjiang and Hong Kong, and particularly the genocide that the US government has been very clear has been committed against mostly Muslim Uyghurs in China. And so we're really focused on working with our allies and our partners to develop an affirmative agenda as we look at this complex relationship with China and to defend our values and our shared interests as well.
You mentioned Xinjiang and Uyghurs. We are hearing some voices from European countries doubting the United States is wavering on its position of the policy determination that Chinese suppression against Uyghurs is genocide. Is the United States wavering?
The United States has been very clear, Secretary Blinken has been very clear, that we believe that what has happened in Xinjiang is genocide, that we have seen crimes against humanity committed against the Uyghurs, and we've been very clear that these are very serious crimes and that there needs to be accountability. We have condemned these activities, these crimes, and we have made it clear that we need to see a stop to these human rights violations, to forced sterilizations, to torture, to other crimes that have been perpetrated primarily against mostly Muslim Uyghurs in Xinjiang especially.
Moving on to vaccine distribution, as we know, Serbia and Hungary have become the first European countries to use China's Sinopharm COVID vaccines. As we know, many countries are still relying on American company Pfizer. Is there a divide? Is the United States pressing European countries to choose between Washington and Beijing?
No, we are not asking countries to make a choice between the United States and China. At the same time, we believe that we are strongest when we work together to promote and to protect our shared values and interests. And so that's why you've seen that this administration has engaged very actively in the first month of the administration in multilateral fora, that we are working with allies and partners, as well as with countries like China, to promote global health security. We want to work together to see an end to this pandemic. But at the same time, we also know that China uses the multilateral system to promote its own interests and to undermine some of our shared values. And so we want to work very closely with our partners and our allies to protect those interests and to push back where we see that China is trying to undermine the rules-based international order.
How confident is the United States to work with its European allies to have a unified approach toward China after the EU-China investment? Is the United States caught by surprise?
Well, we really look forward to having early consultations with the EU on this investment agreement. And I think you've heard from Secretary Blinken, from others, I know our allies have certainly heard, that we're eager to look for areas where we can cooperate on China on the basis of our shared values and to promote our mutual interests. And listen, if China did make additional concessions in that agreement on things like market access, on forced labor, we certainly welcome that, although we really would look to the Chinese to prove that that's not just cheap talk and that they're going to implement those commitments. And so we really look forward to having conversations moving forward with the EU and with our European allies and partners about working together on these issues.
If I may ask about Kosovo elections, what is your takeaway of the elections? Is the prospect of Kosovo-Serbia dialogue dimmer?
Well, we certainly continue to support the EU-facilitated Belgrade-Pristina dialogue and to look toward a comprehensive agreement, a normalization agreement that would lead to mutual recognition or on the basis of mutual recognition. And so that will be our goal moving forward.
Do you envision a U.S. brokered Serbia-Kosovo dialogue in the Biden administration?
Well, we're really committed to working with the EU, which facilitates the dialogue, and with our partners in tandem. This is, I think, a very important principle for our engagement in the Western Balkans. We know that we have been most successful there when we have worked hand in glove or shoulder to shoulder with our European allies and partners, and so that's going to be our approach.
This year marks a 30 years anniversary of the V4. In your vision, how is the U.S. going to work with the V4 in coming years?
Well, you've seen that we have congratulated the V4, the countries of the Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland, and Slovakia on 30 years of cooperation in the Visegrad Group format. And we really look forward to partnering with them on shared challenges, everything from COVID-19 to climate to things like strengthening our democracies and independent media.
Thank you so much for talking to VOA.
Thank you. Great to be with you.